Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 140. Let's blame all the lonely men for making OnlyFans girls millionaires.
This is actually a song reference.
All
the
what?
lonely people.
All the lonely people. I feel like I know that. All the lonely people. Oh, that's the Beatles.
Where do they
that's
come from?
Eleanor Rigby.
Obviously, they're all in OnlyFans, but who knows where they came
from? Only 304s.
Who do they work for?
Only fans thoughts.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. Yeah. I got this as a suggestion. Oh, there's an echo? Is there an echo?
There shouldn't be.
No, there shouldn't be.
Oh, it was from my microphone because.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, it was because of some things I did with. Let me see something. Okay, it's still muted on those other places, so we should be good. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of like really crazy beginnings, when you guys went to Washington D.C. and then had sort of the wrap up afterwards, people were like, you had the screen up and everybody could hear you things going on.
Yeah, I know. It was Hannah's setup. She what she did on her OBS was she put so you can set like different sources either within a scene or you can make global settings. And Hannah had the microphone set to a global setting, which means you could hear it no matter what scene you're in, which is global, right? So it's across all the scenes. And I didn't know that. Well, so yeah. If I had a little bit of time and Hannah allowed me to, I could set up her OBS to where that won't happen. Well, I don't know because what she does apparently is that she knows it's global, and I think that she
stays quiet.
Just asks that people not say anything, but you don't have to do that. You can actually. But anyway, yeah, that was I know when we were finishing the show.
At the beginning as well. And the reason why I mentioned it is because people seem to love it. They were like, this should be the new intro. Just people
or we're just kind of like bullshitting. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just chatting and oh, did you put before the show starts? But okay, anyway, we should probably get into this. This was a request given to us by someone in the patron Discord. His name is I believe it's okay to say this, Tifa, is Best Waifu. And so thank you, Tifa. I mean, this is the problem when you do something like Tifa's Best Waifu. I mean, do we call you Tifa or Waifu?
Yeah, we just no. I would just say Tifa is Best Waifu. You have to say it that way every time because he's obviously not referring to himself.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what makes the complexity. But anyway, thank you for this request. We are going to go through it. So we do dip into that. We have a specific channel for show requests. And if you want to join us in the patron Discord, and it actually has I guess it's just the fan Discord plus a patron Discord. BadgerNation.online to access that. And you'll get a easy to access archive of the shows and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, that's where you would go to have access to our Discord. And if you want to send us a message at any point throughout the show, you got a burning desire to tell us something. Often that burning desire to tell us something is pretty esoteric. So it also is a desire to puzzle us. You can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's the very best way for you to send us a tip. And if you want to send us a comment with that tip. So once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you want to support the show because our monthly fundraiser is open, it's at feedthebadger.com/support. So if you just want to throw some dosh at us so that we can continue to bring you this content, that is where you do it. So this was about the Bop House. And I believe that this commentator might be a more conservative one. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's just moderate. But she's calling out the Bop House. And of course, what is a normie take without blaming men and shaming them for making these women millionaires by taking something so horrible from them, I guess.
Yeah. What is a normie take? I don't think there is one that doesn't at least try to like do the whole both sides thing. Well, and that's about as charitable as it gets. But
I don't know, like it feels like the person walking away with 43 million isn't the one being exploited, but what do I know? I actually have a framework that maybe would analyze that a bit more, but let's see. Let's find out what they have to say. You
All
seem
right, so
is this too early, Brian? Or is
no,
it
no, 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 no. This is
okay?
fine. I'm up at like 7 in the morning. No, not even that. 6 in the morning. Sometimes 5:30. All right. So let's like play a little bit of the intro, and
Mhm.
I will skip the thing where she explains it, but I want you to see some of the intro where she plays a couple of clips. So let's take a look at this.
She made a whopping 43 million in 2024.
Sophia Rain just revealed who her top spender was, and he spent almost $5 million.
All right, how much did you make last month? 6 million. All right, next person. That was underwhelming. I don't even.
What do you do for a living to afford a car like this?
I do.
How much do you make?
A couple M's.
How much is this car?
500? I don't know. I don't look. I just tap. I don't have time for this. Like I just pay for it, you know? The G-Wagon, I could crash it. I wouldn't give a about it.
The Bop House is the first OnlyFans content creator house.
A 17-year-old girl was the most requested creator to join the Bop House.
You joined OnlyFans the night you turned 18?
I think so, yeah.
And people subscribed right away?
Yeah.
Should they be in jail?
Yeah.
It's sad to see. Sad.
All right, so that's the intro. That's just sort of like setting it up. So the Bop House is like the Playboy Bunny Mansion in a way, right? But it's run by and populated by women, young women, I assume attractive women, and they're making bank on it. So let's find out how this is men's fault. Well, at least like in part. Allison, are you trying to talk? Because I can't hear you if you are. You're muted or something.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm. Yeah, let's find out.
Okay. Let me see. Let me jump ahead. So there's a bit about social media. I guess I'll just go to that bit first.
Their first names. First up, we've got Alina. She is 24 years old. Aisha, 22 years old. Camilla, 22 years old. Julia, 22 years old. Joy, just 19 years old. And Ava, again, just 19 years old. That is so crazy to me. All of these girls are younger than me. Then we have Sophia Rain, the creator of the Bop House and the final boss of OnlyFans.
You are aware that like you're the final boss when it comes to OF, right?
Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Really, is not the person
made
who
a-
created it? Was she the one who created, or
No, she's the final boss of OnlyFans Girls. Like she's making the most money on OnlyFans. She doesn't own it.
Yeah.
So-
The thing is that what I understand about this is, first of all, I thought like before Patreon did all the crackdown on all the porn, basically they would have been considered the OnlyFans because there was creators who were doing that kind of stuff on Patreon, and then they did the crackdown, and it's all supposed to be just not
There's still porn on Patreon, but it's like animation and illustrations. It's not. I don't think it's like videos of real people.
So what happened is OnlyFans, I guess, didn't do the crackdown. So you don't actually have to do porn on OnlyFans. It's not an obligation. You can do whatever you want. It's just that it allows porn, and that's become what it's been known for. So what I'm getting at is these women are making these choices. They're doing so on a platform where they do not have to choose porn. Like they don't have to choose it. They could choose another offering. Their blog on philosophy, their thoughts on advanced mathematics, that kind of stuff. But they choose porn. They go on OnlyFans. They choose to do porn. And somehow they're exploited. But what are they exploited by? The fact that they can make a crap ton of money doing this? Like, seriously, like, do you spare a thought, for example, for all of the young men who are exploited by the rig industry? They go and they break their bodies for like a fraction of this. Like, and the other thing is that, and maybe I'm preloading this, but what is it that is so? How are they so harmed by this? Like this is what baffles me. Yeah, I know it's unsettling because of certain belief systems, and yeah, I recognize that, but are these women the ones really being harmed by this? Like, this is what I have to ask. And ultimately she gets into well, maybe I should let you guys go into this, but I just wanted to point that out. It's like, first of all, they are making this choice, and how are you going to stop these girls from making this choice?
Well, I mean, it's a global market, so let's look at this another way too. Okay, I don't think it's mostly like Western men that are using these platforms.
No.
I'm just gonna put it out there. So it's a global market. There are simps everywhere, and women are seeing an opportunity to make quick money and potentially a lot, although most women don't make a lot of money on OnlyFans. Most women that are on OnlyFans don't make a lot of money. But it doesn't matter because it's a little and it's like a really low effort contribution, right? I'll put some pictures up of myself. And a lot of them don't even put up nudes, but like kind of, maybe I don't know, maybe something just kind of risque or kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Cheesecakey. But yeah, I mean, I think that if you look around on Instagram, for example, which anybody can go to, Instagram or even like X or Facebook, there are women showing their bodies off there. And I think the primary monetary or the primary revenue they're pursuing is attention, and money is more like a side effect. And that's the irony of this, is that firstly, most of the men that are participating in this are probably not like Western, like white guys or whatever. So you have to consider that it's, you got like people from the Middle East, people from India, people from like other parts of the world that are actually clicking on this stuff. Then you have to consider the fact that while we know that most women don't make a lot of money there, they do make some money. And that is just extra money if they're going to show off their body anyway, because a lot of them are exhibitionists. And thirdly, they're getting what they really want, which is attention, and money is like a side effect. Some of them make a lot of money, and maybe that's like a form of social proof, like I made this much money. But yeah, I mean, I don't think they're victimized by it because they choose to do it. The fact that these things exist shouldn't deter people. I mean, there's plenty of women that are not on OnlyFans. Probably the majority, one would hope, are not. So it's not like that's something that women just can't say no to.
Exactly.
Which is like.
And she's talking. Okay, let's let her say a bit more.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll play a little bit more of this, but I want to jump to the next bit. But
Whopping 43 million in 2024.
She's made waves recently when she revealed she's made an astonishing $43 million in earnings over the past year.
That's more than like star athletes.
Does this OnlyFans model make more or less than these NBA players? Jason Tatum.
Probably $40 million a year. I'm going to assume he makes more than Sophie Rain.
He makes less. He makes $35 million. Anthony Edwards makes just less than Mrs. Rain.
Oh,
I gave away a little hint. $42 million.
Okay. I would assume he has got to make more.
Not quite, Brian. He makes $43 million. Rudy Gobert.
Less.
Rudy Gobert makes slightly more.
That's crazy.
He makes.
So basically comparing how much Sophie Rain, now of course Sophie Rain is the final boss of OnlyFans, so she is like, it's almost like we're back at this thing where we're talking about the top 1%. But yeah, Sophie Rain is the woman who makes the most on OnlyFans, $43 million, the same as professional star athletes or more than professional star athletes, who, by the way, break their bodies to do the thing that they're doing. Like a lot of these guys, they retire when they get to like 30 years old because they can't keep doing it, right? But Sophie Rain, probably there's not a lot of effort that goes into it. I don't know what's on her content. I don't know. But I don't think that she's putting in the same kind of work that professional basketball or football or baseball players are putting in. So something to consider.
What you said about how athletes break their bodies to do this, they do. Like, they're often crippled by the end of their careers. So this is an actual physical monetary cost that they're paying to do this stuff. And that physical cost is not being paid by OnlyFans models. This isn't a situation, as far as I know, OnlyFans models often do not engage in any kind of prostitution or even sexual acts. So this
Maybe
could
the
be
girlfriend experience.
this could be purely
yeah.
cheesecake that they're doing. I don't know how explicit Sophie Rain is. So
Well, that's a porn
at the end of
name,
the
if
day-
anything, but I don't know. She's got a porn name, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's for sure. And I mean, look at the cost that I have to do this content. I have to have this cat whom I'm allergic to putting her tail in my face. But I'm just thinking about something that Hannah said a while back when we covered something similar. We don't look at the costs of what it is to be a doctor and the psychological costs of having to tell a family that their kid is dying. We don't look at the psychological, like the physical and psychological costs of firemen, rig workers. And there is a lot of jobs that are a lot worse than OnlyFans model. And yet we are obsessed with not just looking at these women's butts, but regarding them as victims of us looking at their butts. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I know that there's a religious component to this, but for me, I find it difficult to think that Sophie
What do you mean
Rain
there's
is
a,
victim of this.
a religious component to
Well,
this?
because a woman, she's a fallen woman or something. I don't know.
Is that what the person who made this video, I don't think she says that.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I
Fair
don't
enough.
think so, because I watched the whole video and I didn't hear her mention any this is not godly. I think that she's just, what I think her concern is, and maybe we'll get to that point in the video, it's more about how Sophie Rain and OnlyFans girls make women look bad, and it's a step backwards for feminism and blah blah blah. So
okay.
I don't think it's unless of course you consider feminism itself a religion, then yes, she is making a religious argument.
I'm curious what element of feminism at this point isn't a step back. Like I would argue that it was a step back the entire time.
Sure, I agree.
If we just look at it from the perspective of women, I don't see that feminism is adding anything just to women. Like I would have said it was a step back for society, but maybe getting the vote without the consequence of serving the state was a step forward for women only, not society, and certainly not equality. But at this point, what is it that feminism does that is even beneficial to women? I mean, they're scraping the bottom of the victimhood barrel. There are a lot of women who say that the process of fracking the victimhood reserves and having, the dirtiest, most unpleasant, according to certain TERF feminists, form of victimhood, which is trans women come out and then attempt to process that into further victimhood reserves. That's that whole process. There's a lot of feminists who speak out against it, who think it's not a good thing. And then there are other so it's almost like feminism doesn't agree with feminists don't agree with what benefits women at this point. And they're having gigantic arguments that have a lot of collateral damage in order to try to figure out what is a woman and how do you benefit that. And it's so I mean, OnlyFans, I don't know. I mean, compare OnlyFans to the billion-dollar industry that is female victimhood, which is actually exploiting women more, I wonder. Especially since only what I was trying to get at, and she talks about it initially, you skipped it, but she talks about how these women are young. And I'm like, well, how are you going to stop them from doing this?
Oh, I did.
What?
Yeah, no, I played that bit where she talked about how they're, they get as young as 19 years old and so on.
But I was
again, it's just like you said, what can you do about it? Like no one's making them do this. They are choosing to do this.
Yes.
I mean, I could say fatherless behavior, and maybe that's true. But this woman would find that offensive.
Well, it's fatherless behavior, but it's also okay. Let's be honest. What would you need to do to stop these girls from choosing this? These women from choosing this? They're going to go into we need to blame and shame the men so they stop paying for OnlyFans, I guess. But that's
what I'm saying. Like, how are you going to do? It is an impossible ask.
The only way you can stop these girls from doing this when they come of age is to increase the age of consent to 25 or 30, right? And so you basically take away their autonomy. Will you allow young men to go on OnlyFans and show their butts? But not young girls? And then, couple generations from now, will that be seen as patriarchal oppression? That women were artificially restricted from doing something because we were so worried about how much they would be victimized if they did it? Like, do you see how this stuff goes in cycles? As a society, we're like, oh, we can't let our young women do that because that victimizes them. 50 years later, how dare they restrict women's freedom? It's like,
well, that's just it, though. Like, liberation is the
chasing our own
only,
tail.
like, liberation at the cost of everything is the only goal, and it never ends because human desire is bottomless. And so they just keep finding new ways to liberate women. And all it does is it puts them in a position where they're just more likely to do harm to themselves because there is a hierarchy of what is good for you versus what you want. And just liberating all the time is going to end up with people like completely miserable and directionless. It doesn't, that's what feminism is doing. And all of it, by the way, is dependent on this idea that the whole world and all of society needs to change for women to feel completely free. And that's just not possible because they'll choose things that hurt themselves in the name of being liberated. And so we're seeing this now where, you know, women who are just 19 or just turned 18 or even 17, they get OnlyFans accounts. And then when anybody follows them, which, you know, in a world of like 7 billion people, there's going to be some, then they'll immediately be like, oh, those guys should go to jail. Not you know, you shouldn't be on OnlyFans. No, we should be sending men to jail for that, for just like for some of them checking it out or whatever. So and that's because we're yeah, go ahead.
Okay, liberating people. Yes, you're right. It's like liberating without any sense of responsibility is aimless. But my point was we look at these situations and we say we should restrict women from them because it's harming them. And then a generation later, we look at the restrictions and we say what patriarchal oppression we've enforced on women. And it's like, it's this never ending chasing our own tail about this issue. And my point is, what do you want to do to stop this? Because you're not going to get rid of all of the lonely men. Okay. And you're not going to make it better by shaming them into being even more lonely, right? You can maybe shut down OnlyFans, but there's nothing apparently illegal about it. So how are you going to stop this 17-year-old girl going on OnlyFans and making an account as soon as she turns 18? You're going to have to
I mean, even if you can't even get rid of OnlyFans, because if you did, there would just be another app that would just replace it. Or women would just go on Instagram and they'll start, you know, like fucking whatever. Like you can't, the problem is not the existence of something like OnlyFans. If anything, the problem is that women are choosing to create, like I said, there are lonely men in the world. You can't make that go away. Or there are just horny men. Like they're just out there. There's horny women. So you can't do anything about that. So like what, you know, why are you complaining? I guess is what I would ultimately land on, because you can't, you're complaining about human nature. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's my point. Like, first of all, what are you going to do to change it? You have to take away their ability to make these choices, which means you take away their autonomy. And in a couple of generations, you're going to be called a patriarchal oppressor. Well, men will be blamed for this. Because men didn't stop being lonely, so women could no longer have OnlyFans accounts. Like that's the logic. So men should stop paying for this, so women are no longer have this option. Men should take this option away from women. And that's the other thing. Like it's basically the same. Men should take this option away from women. So what's the difference between that and just stopping them from being able to start an OnlyFans account until you're 75? And it's all of it is just gilf porn.
Honestly, I wonder how much of all that we're like reading or seeing in these videos about Sophie Rain, etc., is actually just her flexing on other women. Because I bet that's what it mostly is. When she's like, well, here's how much I make. Ugh. It's not for the men. Like, obviously, she doesn't have any respect for her audience. And because they're simps, they probably don't deserve it. So when she puts out there how much she's making, it's a flex on other women. That's why I think other women are like, well, I think I can outdo Sophie Rain. So, you know, this is, again, female competition.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
It would have almost nothing to do with men.
No, men are just the They're basically
The
like the
point
currency. Like these
in
are
the ball.
this is how many men are giving me money. It's not because I like them. It's because this is how special I am to this number of men who are giving me this much money. Men are the currency. They're the measuring stick. Not
In this
the
economy.
actual. Yeah, it's the attention economy from men. And also from women who are jealous and combative. So be like, look at all the women who hate me. That's more proof of how, like desirable I am. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again,
So,
like we're talking about possibly one of the easiest jobs in all of human history. Yeah, it does come with having to show your ass, which is uncomfortable for people who are introverted, I suppose. But like compare this to being a surgeon, compare this to cleaning up garbage, compare this to having to deal with heavy equipment on a rig. This is easy, and yet we don't ever think about all of these other forms of, I don't really want to call it exploitation, because I think people should be able to sell their labor, but this is like the least laborious selling of labor. This is the opposite of selling labor. This is selling the very value of your freaking body, that people will pay you to just show them parts of your body. Like that's like the only reason that happens. It's like requisite. I know this is a sacrilegious kind of comparison, but think about all of the those little like those souvenirs that people would sell religious pilgrims in the Middle Ages on their it was these kind of sacred objects. What's the difference here? Basically, they are selling the desirability of their body. Like they're selling the worth of their body, not the objectification. Well, I guess to a degree, because it's objects that have inherent value without doing anything. But it's like selling images of the sacred, almost.
Yeah.
So how is that? It's the anti-labor. People are paying them for doing nothing and just showing their bodies, how valuable their bodies are. Their valuable bodies, displaying glimpses of their valuable bodies. That's it. That's the anti-labor job.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is I don't need to do labor because my body is so valuable job.
And also, like, where do you think this, this sort of shallow materialism that a lot of young women have today, this attitude comes from? Like, when money is easy, it doesn't mean anything. Like it's not worth anything. So they don't understand the value of a dollar because they're not working for it really. And they're making like crazy amounts of money. And even other women who aren't like, maybe they don't have OnlyFans accounts or whatever, or they don't have the courage to, but they see like these women making this kind of money to the point where they're like, they don't even look at the cost of a vehicle when they buy it. If it's like $500,000, they're like, well, I don't have time for that shit. And other women are like, wow, you're like, that's like something I want. I want to be able to do that. As though, that's, again, like an ultimate form of liberation, the ability to not worry about anything and just like have what you want. But I don't think it's happiness.
Well, if you have no responsibilities to anybody but yourself, it is the ultimate form of liberation. Like, I think, I like look at this, I'm like, wow, maybe I should have shown my ass when I was 19. Then I could have funded like 30 men's shelters. I mean, it's far too late for me now, but the thing is that, like they don't have that. They just want to buy a $500,000 car and just get more and more material crap.
And they don't care. They'll be like, I'll just crash it up. I don't care, right? So like it doesn't mean anything. So I'm saying it's not worth anything even then.
Here's the news flash. Teenage girls are as venal, selfish, interested in status, and rubbing their other people's noses. And young women, actually, I probably shouldn't even say teenage girls, young women before their brains mature at 25 are just as interested, have that same kind of shallow sociopathy as young men. What, you think that young men could show their ass and get a $500,000 car? They wouldn't do it? Like, seriously. They wouldn't do all of this stuff, but we shame young men for having these status symbols, for running down or going down the street with their jacked up trucks and stuff. We shame them for far more modest depictions of being status seeking and disregarding other people's benefit in the process, is what I'm saying. Well, women, girls like this, they're just exactly the same. And it doesn't seem like they necessarily grow out of it because nobody calls them on it. Nobody is calling these OnlyFans models on the fact that they're probably in it for the attention. They're probably in it for the social, like the social competition. Maybe some of the smart ones are in it for the money and they have like a money manager, and maybe they have other goals or whatever. Are there any OnlyFans models who like donate to charity or anything? Is there like an OnlyFans model who says, I show people my ass, but I take a reasonable wage and then everything else goes to things that are important to me? Is there an OnlyFans? Like, somebody find that out. Because it seems more like it's just,
I doubt it.
Reveling
I have doubts. Yeah.
Reveling in lust, reveling in greed, reveling in pride, reveling in sloth. It's just, and here's a news flash. Teenage girls and young women are just about as bad about all of that as young men. Except, oh gosh, Kat, could you not tip over my coffee?
Can I play more of the video?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to deal with the coffee issue.
Yeah.
To be in this house, doing the same dance moves as these girls, wearing tight clothing, treating this as another TikTok trend.
So what she was just saying is that there are TikTok trends where women are basically auditioning to join the Bop House, and they have to dress scantily and dance around. Again, this is all women trying to find approval from other women. Men have nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this. Let's keep going.
Girls that auditioned, you may or may not have heard of. Her name is Piper, and she's just 17 years old. She's a child YouTuber. I think she's had YouTube since she was like 9. She reminds me a lot of, I think her name was Danny, dancing around in revealing clothing on the internet. So like I said, she's just 17 years old. So legally, the Bop House cannot take them under their wing yet.
Now, I don't need to tell you why.
So, okay.
Danny?
Again, now, if let's say that there was, because what appears to be happening here is you have adult women putting out sexy content online, TikTok, OnlyFans, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, wherever. And it's everywhere. There's women trying to get attention with their bodies, okay? Men are not making them do any of this, and they are adults. And these adult women are having an impact on underage girls who see that, and they themselves want that attention. They want to be like a part of that action. And so they start putting out videos. They all have phones. Apparently their parents are not involved in their life enough to restrict that, or they don't care, or worse yet, they might even be supportive. I know that Lily Phillips says that her parents are supportive of her banging 100 dudes in a day. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. Doesn't matter. But at no point is there a conversation about whether or not adult women should be essentially inspiring girls to do that. There's nothing about that. Like, imagine if, I don't know, like if there was some flip side of that. Like maybe there was a man who was, like Andrew Tate, for example. He gets a lot of shit for being like they call him a pimp or whatever.
Yeah, what's the difference between Andrew Tate and these women in this Bop House?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. What's the difference, right? He has, I don't know if he still does, but I know that he was accused of, essentially having women work for him, and they would, he was basically managing their OnlyFans accounts or their whatever it was, their subscriptions for material online, right? Fat material for men. And we would say that some people would say that he's not a good role model for that, for men. And I would be one of those people, right? I don't think that he's treated fair by the justice system, but I don't think he's a good role model for men. And I would say that they shouldn't, participate in that. But these adult women are out here inspiring underage girls And that's not a problem. I mean, at least not like she might say, well, I don't think that's cool, but are you really against it? Or are you just going to blame men and ask men to step in and do something? Because that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is she going to call them out for, I mean, essentially, they're doing the same things that drug dealers do. They're recruiting among young women. And they're using that kind of glamorous lifestyle and the stuff that you can get to do it. Or they're recruiting among girls. And then I don't know if this girl at 17 was in contact with these women and talking to them, and they were encouraging her, or they were actually talking to her until she turned 18. That might be that's pretty sus, a little suspicious there. But like, and again, this girl, and I was looking at the comments, apparently was managed by her mother. But of course, we can't.
Sophie Rain or the Lily Phillips?
The 17-year-old Lily Phillips. No, the 17-year-old who's potentially going into the Bob House. We can't talk about.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
We can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot talk about the rate at which women traffic women. Women traffic not traffic, but traffic is the wrong word. Women get other women into this. I see why traffic is sort of expanded, because it helps to it helps the conversation. Because when I say traffic, that what I mean is that these the mothers are getting their daughters into the business. They're grooming their daughters into the business, literally grooming, because it's prior to 18, and and that kind of stuff. And then you can also see it as like coercive in terms of adult women and that kind of thing. So I see why it's sort of expanded in scope, but unfortunately it shouldn't. So we need another word for that. But just like compelling or coercing other women into this situation and seducing other women into this situation is maybe the best way to put it. And that's what these women are doing. And nobody's going to call them out on it. They're going to keep trying to basically stop the tide from rising. They're gonna men for being lonely.
Yeah, well, they'll shame men for exposing what these women they're doing. Like on the Whatever podcast, they usually have or the Fresh and Fit podcast, they usually have like half a dozen girls that show up, and it's like often it's new girls, and all of them have OnlyFans accounts that they're plugging. They're actually going on the podcast to plug their OnlyFans, and at no point does someone say, like, why are you doing this? But so, like, it's not like these women are delusional. They're not tricked into it. They're doing this willingly. They're trying to make money because essentially there is no sense of duty or like what is the way you should live. Like I saw the Jim Bottle. I just want to say this. He said, Allison, you're a libertarian, dear. What's the problem? I'm all for libertarianism, but there has to be like a moral framework that you're operating within. I believe in the freedom to do the good. I think that's more important than just do whatever you want, because it's not necessarily going to give you the best outcomes for your life. Because you know what I'm saying? So like I think that these women would make the same case. They'd say, well, I believe in the free market, and if I'm going to get paid for it, then I'm going to do whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but if it goes bad for you, you don't get to go back and blame men for that, because you're using them. You're using men to make your millions. So guess what? It's not their fault. They are the people you are exploiting, especially when these girls do this girlfriend experience thing where they make these men feel like they're special to them to extract more money from them. But we're not supposed to say that that's immoral. Like, you can be free to do immoral things. I'm not against it, but I still get to call those things immoral.
Well, you could be free to do these things, but don't blame the people that you're exploiting for them. Like, do all of this. Ladies, you could do all of this. You don't get to blame. You don't get to segue into that part of your career where you're 30 plus and you start to say, well, I was a victim. Because this is what happens when they're young. They exploit men sexually. Well, they engage in this kind of, I won't say it's exploitation because both parties seem to be aware of what's going on. That's fine. But it becomes exploitation when they retroactively look at it and they say, I was exploited. And I'm curious. I don't know if this monetizing men's loneliness I personally don't think that that's something that is moral. However,
No.
it is legal, so go. I guess,
Sure.
and I don't know the alternative. Like honestly, if
No,
women
I
are
don't think we
going
can
to
ban it. I think that we would have to. I think men
we'd
have
have
to
to
be
fix
like
it.
they'd have to stop simping, but I don't think you can do that across the board.
But
I
also
think that
we'd have to fix it at source, which is apparently that the average man is not attractive to the average woman. And we'd have to figure that out. And that ties into a whole bunch of other stuff. So this ultimately is a symptom of a deeper problem. I'm not going to say that I don't know if men are going to be served necessarily by taking away porn and OnlyFans. Like this is my ultimate point.
no,
I mean,
no, I don't think so either.
so I'm not saying that this is necessarily bad. However, it always ends on blaming men. And if you can't do what you want to do without blaming men, maybe you shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's most likely that these women will transition to a point of time where they can no longer get the money that they want from men's sexuality, and then they will switch to the other profitable way of exploiting women's value, which is to start talking about their victimhood. Now that, like, OnlyFans is okay. Maybe I could find an appropriate thing to compare. Let's do a little bit more, and I gotta set this up.
I'm getting into the bit here where we're gonna talk about the cost or like the actual benefits that women have. Okay, the average woman. Let's continue.
Something called the bot pals is devastating to feminism, but I do want to bring to light what I think is the most disturbing aspect of it. In their most recent video...
Okay, real quick, I just want to say it's not devastating to feminism. It is the actual product of feminism. Like, feminism made this. Okay?
Yeah,
you don't get to say, oh my God, sexual liberation was a mistake. It set feminism back. No, feminism is the thing that created this world.
Yeah,
what?
they wanted the people essentially said, no, you can't do this because this is bad for you young ladies, so we're making this restriction so you're not able to do it. Feminists were like, how patriarchal and patronizing, remove those restrictions. And now the restrictions are removed and girls are allowed to make these choices. And what is she saying? It's exactly what I was talking about, chasing your tail. Now they're saying removing the restrictions is horrible oppression because it allows women to create these giant audiences of extremely lonely men to take money from, and that's horrible oppression of women. And now we're going to go back to the freaking restrictions, or I guess will it be? Is there a difference between legally restricting women from going on OnlyFans or legally restricting OnlyFans from existing? Which incidentally will mean you've destroyed a woman's a woman's business. Like OnlyFans is run by a woman, so you will have destroyed a woman. So either way, you're going to be restricting or destroying a woman's autonomy in order to enact this. And then in 2 generations, are the feminists going to be, I can't believe that it's so patronizing and patriarchal to restrict women from doing these things. And it's like, could we just stop? Is this the behavior of a serious civilization, a serious species, a species destined for the stars? No, it is not. It's the behavior of monkeys with opposable thumbs. I think monkeys always had opposable. Monkeys with the ability to think 3 minutes ahead. Like that's it. We need to move past this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very okay. So anyway, just about that bit right there. This is not setting back feminism. This is what feminism made. And until you internalize that, it's just going to get worse because you're not identifying the source of the problem. And for people who are saying it's not feminism, it's women, almost everybody is a feminist of some stripe, even if they call themselves anti-feminist, non-feminist, traditionalist, whatever. If they subscribe to feminist ideas, they're feminists. So it doesn't, like, that's it. That's all. The label doesn't matter, guys. Whatever somebody calls themselves, that's like identifying as a fucking attack helicopter. If you say you're not a feminist, but you do all the feminist shit, guess what? You're a fucking feminist. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's okay for us to call it what it is. Anyway, I'm just saying it's not like just saying saying feminism is limiting it too much. No, no, no. We have to point this out because almost everyone subscribes and co-signs on this ideology. The average person, you have relatives that co-sign on this ideology. It's almost everybody. And that's the thing that you have to understand. They can call themselves whatever they want. Okay? But that doesn't make it true. So anyway.
And I just want to point something out. Women were the ones who opposed the vote the most initially. Yeah. Women were the ones who voted conservative almost universally throughout the first 3/4 of, or the first 2/3 of the 20th century. And it wasn't until feminism came that all of that got reversed. Usually men would vote liberal. This is what was so surprising in this election, is the hard shift with men from liberal or left to conservatism. Usually for most of the 20th century, conservatism was seen as more female and liberalism was seen as more male. And that reflected in the voting patterns. Then there's this hard shift in the last couple of years, which is what people are getting up in arms about, because the Democratic Party has lost its base of liberal young men. It's shit on them so much. It had an interesting strategy. It's like, well, they're our base. Why don't we keep shitting on them? But it eventually backfired on them. So, I mean, it was women who did the majority of policing this shit in the past, right? Who would have told these girls to knock it off, right? And don't engage in this. But, it is women, but it's women with absolutely no sense of responsibility to anything but themselves. And if you can imagine, if men were in that circumstance, it might look similar, except I think men are more inclined innately towards some kind of external metric for their actions. But it's like, imagine Gilgamesh before his epic, that kind of thing. But there's no epic of Gilgamesh for women in our society. They don't have aspirational goals like Mary, the mother of Christ. That's gone because we don't have those. We don't have a real faith in those stories anymore. And I don't mean that as a Christian thing. I mean that, an aspirational story for women to say, this is the kind of person I want to be morally. This is what I want to try to live my life morally. Where is that in our society? It's gone. So it's all just materialism and blaming men. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, let's play the next bit. We're going to get into how much they actually make.
They are advertising for a new girl. Now, I looked at the comments, and unsurprisingly, there are lots of people tagging creators. A 17-year-old girl was the most requested creator to join the Bop House. People wanting a 17-year-old to join.
The thing is, at this young age, you may not see an issue with this, but as you grow up and your frontal lobe develops, you learn more about yourself, your beliefs, your values. You may change your mind. And that digital footprint sticks around. You got to think about your future. And if you happen to want children, you got to think about them as well. Think about how it could impact their life. OnlyFans may seem like a quick path to wealth, keyword seem, but at what cost?
Yeah, it may look appealing, like money, like $43 million, but it's not worth it. It's not.
Okay, I'm just pausing there for the banana. So she is trying to steer women, especially young women, away from this. But I think that maybe the idea is, and we'll get into it a little bit later in the video, but she might believe that blaming men or putting men in like a kind of a predatory frame is the most effective way to do that. That's my suspicion. I don't know, but she probably believes it as well. But anyway, let's play some more.
There is a different path for you. You'll make money. It might not be $43 million, but there is a path for you. Bro, I learned from my mistake. I promise you. We need to take these phones away and start putting Bibles in their hands.
As an OnlyFans creator, your body becomes a product. It becomes viewed and treated
they did
as such.
start to talk about a bit of religion there, just briefly.
What did she say? Oh, what? Where? I missed it already. What? Who was it?
She said put Bibles in these girls' hands.
Oh,
it's
well,
I'm not sure if that's going to be sufficient.
That's not really effective. Like fathers in their homes would probably be better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
I mean, the question is Christianity, does Christianity create fathers and homes, or do fathers and homes create Christianity? Or let me put it another way. Do fathers and homes create daughters who are interested not in the easy way and the lazy way, the prideful way, or in the way that actually helps others? It's the only way you're going to stop these women from doing this is if they understand that to a certain degree they are exploiting the men, that they're exploiting the loneliness of these men. Like, I don't want to get into this is a difficult tightrope to walk, because on the one hand, yeah, this is an activity that is legal, and I don't want to say men can't do this, but on the other hand, this entire the size of this particular industry only exists as it is. The only reason why this woman is able to make $43 million is because relationships between men and women have broken down so appallingly as a result of this overwhelming exploitation of women's victimhood, or the presentation of women's victimhood. So this is like something feeding on the corpse of our society. And it's like, we got to fix that. But the only way to fix it is to actually care about men at the end of the day, and to stop blaming them, and to stop pretending that women are victims of men, victims of the half of the species that has evolved to make sure they survive childbirth. Like, seriously. I mean, and to feed the resulting offspring as well. So it's like,
yeah, go ahead.
This, as much as I don't want to say that people shouldn't be able to do this, I recognize that this is a symptom of something very bad that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to remember. I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm gonna guess that the majority of girls are not doing this, and the majority of guys are probably not doing this either, because even when it comes to like porn consumption, you can find free porn everywhere. So it's not. I think that most men are not buying OnlyFans accounts or paying for OnlyFans, and most women are not creating or are content creators on the platform. So we are talking about a minority, and I think that there is a societal cultural problem with it, where depending on how the girl grew up, that she's more likely to go down this road. It's not just because, like, if you're getting like sufficient love from the people around you, your family, maybe you're not going to seek the attention elsewhere. Maybe you're not going to be around peers that are going to pull you in that direction, so yeah, we are talking about a minority, and I wouldn't want to ban or illegalize anything, but I think people have to choose that. So
it just occurred to me, the difference between porn and OnlyFans is actually a perception of a connection with the creator. So this is actually cult of personality. Like, OnlyFans is more, if you think about it,
it's a parasocial social relationship. Yeah.
Whereas just going on the internet for porn is much more anonymous and less like, I assume you don't make more of a connection with the character of the person who's acting out. But this is actually selling the girl as a person. Ironically, people aren't recognizing that. Like, you are giving this money to a specific person, not a set of fetishistic acts. And I think that actually really speaks to what I'm saying, that this is a reflection of the breakdown of relationships, that they're creating this ability to have this parasocial relationship with a woman like this, right? And that is making so much money, possibly even more than the usual, more disconnected kind of porn. Isn't that interesting, though? Because they're giving money to a specific woman, not a category of porn on OnlyFans.
Sure, yeah.
They're purchasing the perception of a relationship. And I'm saying that this particular industry could only come about because of the destruction of the relationship between men and women as a result, in part, I mean, because I think feminism is also itself a symptom of this whole idea that men oppress women, which can't do anything but destroy the relationship between men and women. So now we're sort of at the end of that cycle, and we're seeing men spend millions of dollars for a personal connection. And I hate to say it, but you know, romantic relationships are sexual. So it is a personal connection with a romantic partner. This is the perception that OnlyFans is giving. This is the perception that they're giving. And this is categorically different than porn in the past.
Yeah.
Like it almost is its own thing entirely because of that perception of a relationship. And like I said, the destruction in people's actual relationships, the loneliness is leading to this. And I mean, the way that I could see that this is a harm for these young women, I mean, you would have to buy into a moral framework, first of all, right? But the other, if you just looked at personal harm, how are they going to relate to men after the money dries up? Are they going to go into are they going to be able to have a relationship with a man after all of this? I mean,
I don't know.
Are they just going to transition into the usual I blame men for what I chose of my own free will? Like they're there to blame because they gave me the opportunity. I can't imagine the reverse. I'm trying to think of the reverse attitude. Like women have some kind of failing that men exploit. Oh, the beauty industry, right? Beauty industry makes bank over women's insecurities. Do we blame women for the beauty industry because they're all being manipulated by their insecurities? No, we blame men again for giving women the opportunity to indulge aspects of their insecurities, their jealousies, and other things. Like what I'm trying to get at is it's an industry that sort of exploits a need or a flaw or something that they're contending with, women are contending with, which is insecurity over their looks. It's an industry that exploits that. But do we say, well, women are responsible because they're purchasing all of this stuff and paying attention to this, right? We don't. The industry is responsible because it's selling them, you know, this insecurity, or it's selling them the solution to the insecurity, ends the insecurity. What's the difference here? The men in OnlyFans are just the market. And suddenly the market is to blame instead of the marketers.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold true for any other situation but this. Because it's men. You know, and if women were touch-starved and hungry for relationships, and you had I don't know, the male version of OnlyFans doling this stuff out in pittances to women in exchange for huge amounts of cash. If there was any kind of social recognition that women were having to pay to purchase, they would never frame that in terms of women being the ones who were wrong and the people selling this to them being the ones who are right. Never. Never. If women had a need, we can barely conceive of the idea that they should have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
all right, let's keep going. She's going to talk about how much they make.
That can be tough for anyone who's seeking love or real, genuine connections. While there are some that genuinely enjoy the work, I believe most people do desire stable relationships, and again, possibly a family in the future, which can be difficult to navigate as an OnlyFans model. I worry that many, especially young girls, barely of legal age, don't fully understand the long-term effects of doing this line of work, the effects of entering the industry at an age where your mind isn't.
You cannot articulate the long-term effects. Okay, and the reason why does she? You watch this whole thing. I also watched some of it. Does she ever clearly articulate what the long-term effects are? No.
Well, just that women are going to struggle in relationships, but not necessarily like the big picture problems. Yeah.
No, she doesn't. and again, the long-term effects go back to the woman. Well, it doesn't freaking matter, because if you're talking to an 18-year-old girl who's basically brain dead and a bit of a sociopath, just like everybody is that age, and you say, wow, you might be giving up a relationship with the very group of people that we say harm you more than anybody. I mean, you could be giving up a relationship in which you wipe a man's ass and be his maid and his mom and take care of snot-nosed kids and all of this shit. You could be giving that up on one hand, and on the other hand, you could make $43 million a year. I mean, like, lady, you got to straighten out your rhetoric around relationships with men before you can say, think about what you're giving up when you're choosing not to have what feminists say is a relationship in which you'll be exploited for your emotional labor, for your sex, for your housework, for your baby making ability. You're going to be exploited in every possible way by a singular man, and all you're going to get back is maybe getting your bills paid, versus, hey, you can have even less exploitation than marrying a man and make $43 million. And she's trying to say that this is a framework that's going to stop these girls from going in and making $43 million. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, feminists basically say to women and girls, you get in a relationship with a man, you're going to be exploited sexually, emotionally, in terms of your housework, your labor, your time, your money, everything. And that's that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you're going to end up dead in a trash bin, right? This is what they say. And you are trying to turn around and say, hey, you might give up your ability to have a relationship with what we consider to be the spawn of Satan. Like, you might give that up. Like, who? I'm sorry. You got to work out your sales pitch here, lady. Because as long as you assert that a relationship with a man is possibly the most exploitative situation a woman can get into, these young women don't even have to be dumb or not care about themselves to say, so I can, like, live a lower to middle class lifestyle being exploited by one single man, or I could shoot for the moon and make $43 million being so-called exploited by men, but if they piss me off, I block them. You know, and I mediate, the entire relationship is mediated by me and money. You have no leverage here, lady. Because the entire framework of what you're saying, the entire framework of what feminism says about this situation, any intelligent, reasonable girl listening to everything you say about the relationship between men and women will choose the OnlyFans. Because of your rhetoric. You guys are driving women to do this. Because not only do you sell marriage as the most exploitable situation a woman could possibly get into, right? And you don't even get a lot of money out of it. Not only do you sell the marriage and relationships with men as a terrible idea, a terrible investment for women, you don't present women with any kind of understanding of the greater consequences of these actions. So there's no sense of, hey, this is actually really destructive to our civilization, our society, ultimately. If we don't get in relationships, we don't pursue productivity in that way. So there's no exterior moral goal that you tell them to rise to. There's no, well, this is sort of a sinful lifestyle. So you got nothing. And in fact, feminists are the driver for women into OnlyFans. And they blame men because men are also being driven into OnlyFans by feminist rhetoric. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to just say women, because feminist rhetoric is a specific thing, right? It is a specific framework. It's something that didn't exist before it existed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So feminist rhetoric is driving the loneliness epidemic by presenting marriage and relationships as exploitation for women. So women start increasing their standards unbelievably to compensate for all the exploitation that they think they're taking on. Relationships break down. Everybody's flipping lonely, right? Everybody is dealing with that. Men go to OnlyFans to feel like a moment of connection with a female, and women go to OnlyFans to get attention and money, which they've been told is probably the least exploitative way to interact with men. All of this is being driven by this crap. And let me tell you, feminism is one of the biggest exports of the U.S. federal government, apparently, as we've been finding out with U.S. aid. So it's like,
yep,
great. Okay, well, we are, and then we're going to blame men again for all of this. Because God forbid we blame our own stupidity. All right, let's keep going.
All right, play some more.
Even fully developed. I don't know about y'all, but when I was these girls' age, the young girls now that are just mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, I was out there playing with my friends in the neighborhood. Honestly, I was still playing with my Bratz dolls. I played with those till like a very ripe age. Having sleepovers with my girlfriends, making cookies, watching silly rom-coms. The good old days when social media wasn't a big thing. My role models were girls like Vanessa Hudgens.
All right, I'm skipping ahead. I thought she was going to get into the money thing, but
the pressures from social media. It seems like there's no awkward preteen phase. And
so she's blaming social media now. Again, like if there are parents in the home, they will put restrictions. My brother, my little brother has a daughter, and he kept her. He didn't get her a phone until she was like 18 or 19 or something, when she was in college. And so she never really went into that whole thing. Because my brother is her father and he establishes boundaries. So, I mean, it's not like a thing you can't do, So I just don't like when people blame these large abstracts. Social media does this. Well, I'm on social media and I haven't made an OnlyFans account despite everyone begging me to. So, I mean, it's not a good reason. It's a bad excuse.
Anymore.
Why aren't kids today having ugly and awkward phases? Like, all my friends and I went through weird, awkward phases in middle school, and we share those pictures with each other. And when I look at middle schoolers now, I'm just like, you guys look grown. Like, they fully know how to do their makeup. They're dressed in Lululemon and Zara, and I'm just like, what? And like the colorful leggings, like, why is no one wearing them?
I wanted to do a whole video on that because it's just why.
Again,
you're
ahead.
doing that, lady.
Yeah, you're on your phone applying makeup, talking about why are little girls doing this? Like, this is why can't women see that their actions influence girls? Like, why? That's all it is. Like, what you do and what you say online, children will come across it at some point. Little girls are going to see it. Like and then that's what, you know what? This is the thing. That's what I was going to say. When these women say social media is to blame, that's just like when feminists say society instead of women. When they mean women, they say society. When they mean men, they just say men. So that and when they say society, they're hoping that you don't think of women, you just think of men anyway. So when she says social media did this, she's saying women did this.
I got a bit of a
catastrophe.
A catastrophe.
Yeah.
I want to say this is ridiculous. Like, literally, we're watching women saying, "Where is this?"
Oh, Alison, you're muted. I think the cat sabotaged
We're
you.
watching women say, "Where is this coming from?" as they're doing the thing that they're asking, "Where is it coming from?" This is like peak solipsism. And I don't think it's necessarily women's fault, because nobody is telling them except us. And we have like 50 people watching us. It feels like having a species in which half of the species has no understanding that when it does something happens is not tenable long term. So I feel like this message is really critical, and it concerns me that we're the only ones saying it. I mean, I know there are other people who talk about men's issues, but I don't know if they point this out, and in a way that This is not healthy, and this is not normal. It is not normal for that woman to sit there being an influencer, influencing girls to know how to do their makeup and not be awkward, and then say, well, why aren't girls, how do girls know how to do their makeup and not be awkward?
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal. That level of inability to recognize the consequences of your actions, not normal. This woman we see on screen right now, and her inability to connect women to the consequences of women's actions, not normal either. This is not, you could say, oh, this is just female nature. How could these women possibly survive in anything approximating nature? Like, I know that women are generally sheltered. They weren't that sheltered during the process of our evolution, is what I'm saying. Right?
Yeah.
This is like a woman throwing bits of deer meat at a grizzly bear, and then like in a hunter-gatherer society, there's going to be, to bait the bear towards her. There's going to be some point at which nature applies pressure on these women to understand that their actions have consequences. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
like,
Reality is coming. Reality is coming.
Reality is
Yes.
coming here. Reality would have been coming throughout the evolution of womankind as well. Like men didn't have the ability to shelter women this much until this point in time. Up to this point in time, reality came a lot harder and a lot faster and a lot quicker and a lot more deadly. So this appears to be a construction of the most rarefied harem ever in human history. And this can't be just women, because if you took these women and put them in the wild, it wouldn't be that they just didn't understand survival. They wouldn't even have the ability to perceive the connection between their actions and their consequences in order to develop the ability to survive. Like, these are creatures that cannot exist in any circumstance but the one we're in, which means they didn't exist in the past. This is not a woman that could have existed 50, 75, 100, 200, 1,000, 100,000 years ago. This creature is some kind of modern mutated goblin.
Yeah.
And
too much security.
Too
Not
much
enough accountability.
Too much security. And they are all showing that. Every single woman in this video is showing the same problem.
Yeah. They're way too sheltered.
Way too sheltered, too unable to make the connection between doing A and consequence B. And this is insane. And like I said, there's nobody else who seems to be pointing this out. Audience of 50, I really appreciate you guys. At least we have you. But this seems like it's a really critical thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is
I
like
think
a
so.
skill that women completely lack in this day and age.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to play more.
I remember when I was in junior high, I would wear like pink leggings with a green Aeropostale t-shirt, different colored bows in my hair, and many different colored eyeshadows. It was
Yeah, you were still trying to look pretty though. Like, this isn't like that different.
a time for sure, but you don't see young girls go through that phase anymore. The Claire's phase, you know? I wasn't allowed to watch shows or movies that were rated R or 18 plus. My parents said absolutely not. Now there's so much more content, unrated, on the internet that is easily accessible to these young girls. Content that children can be exposed to and parents have no idea. But these girls aren't looking up to
Why
Lizzie
don't
McGuire.
they have any idea?
Yeah. Yeah, why don't they? I mean, that's just it though. That's another thing that she's kind of like, okay, wait, my parents, like when you said parents, that should have clicked. My parents didn't let me do these things that I didn't think were appropriate, and this is whatever, right? And these girls don't have that. Well, is that not the thing? I mean, I already made the case about my brother, but I also have like a couple friends of mine that have had kids. That they did the same thing with their kids, and it wasn't just their daughters, by the way. It was also their sons. So it's not like their daughters were special, you know. But for the guys I know that are my friends that have boys, they did the same thing. So they didn't want them ending up being simps.
It's girls like this now, exploiting and degrading themselves for large sums of money instead of using their talents, their ideas. It just feels like we're moving backwards as women when our bodies are valued more than our minds.
Well, you're doing that to yourself, though. Like on women that are doing that. Men aren't doing that to them. Again,
Yeah, they're
women
just
are doing this to themselves. When you say we're moving women back, that's another one of these collective guilt things. No, no, no. You are moving women back. Maybe not you specifically, but women are doing this with they're doing this with girls. There are women on the internet that have influence. That's why they're called influencers, and they're influencing girls to act that way, and they're selling them, you know, like maybe like a lifestyle or an idea or you know of materialism that they can only acquire or that they are best able to get while they are young and you know the post puberty whatever. And so girls are listening to women, and that's like that's it. That's what it is. So you can't be like you women are moving backwards. Well, I mean that's not men's fault.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway. But okay.
I don't know, lately it's just really discouraging to see things like this. The Bop House, Lily Phillips sleeping with 100 guys in 24 hours, Bonnie Blue sleeping with 1,057 in 12 hours. So obviously it's not just the Bop House, there's a ton of other OnlyFans influencers out there with huge social media presence. They are honestly starting to become the new mainstream influencer. OnlyFans in general is becoming very mainstream. Social media influencers and OnlyFans models are kind of merging into one, and they even have fan pages, and I'm talking like a strong fandom. Like I'm talking the energy of like Team 10. Did I just unlock a memory for anybody? Now, Sophie Rain did say that she doesn't want girls thinking this lifestyle is all sunshine and rainbows. She doesn't recommend quitting your job for OnlyFans. In my opinion, I feel with the type of content she boasts, with and without the girls, she is, whether it's intentional or not. Because the way these girls flash their money.
You know what's funny? If Sophie Rain wanted to, she could, if she really wanted to, like, let's say, discourage young girls from joining OnlyFans, she could publicly quit OnlyFans, erase all of her content, and donate like 90% of her money to charities. And then women would see that and say, wow, what a brave move. What a crazy thing to do. But she's not going to do that. So she's just going to say from her mansion, look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, ladies.
Yeah, nothing.
You know,
that
you
people
can't be, you're not like, I'm the only Sophie Rain. I'm the only one that can do this. You can't do this, while she like eats her caviar and sips her champagne. So it's not enough to just say like, oh, I don't think that's for everybody, while you're collecting millions and millions of dollars.
I was actually thinking about this. What would actually show, like, I was talking about the life cycle of women like this, and they go through this process of basically taking the money, doing the sexual stuff, however sexual it is. Seems like this is pretty tame compared to porn in the past, honestly. I don't think OnlyFans is the worst of it, friends.
No, Chatterbait, like the cam girls have been around for as long as there have been webcams. So, yeah.
So, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is if they really regretted this, they could give the money back.
Yeah, that's what yeah, exactly. Like give the money back then, or whatever, donate it, whatever. Just say, oh, you know what? This was eating away at my soul. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to give all the money back, or I'm going to donate the money, or whatever. I'm going to do something constructive with it, you know, send it to like whatever. But no, they're not doing any of that. They're just like saying, oh yeah, I have regrets, crying into their fucking $100 bills. Like, so like, I mean, and that's the thing. It comes across as disingenuous
and disingenuous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will believe that one of these women really genuinely regrets their actions when they take whatever is left of the money that they made, because I know that they're going to have used some to live on, they're going to use some to build stuff, and maybe it, you know, maybe make like create a trust fund for themselves so they can live a reasonable life, whatever, and take the rest of it and donate it to a men's charity. That's
Build
or even just
a men's
children's
shelter.
charity. Yeah, build a men's
Yeah.
shelter. That's when I'll believe that you regretted what you did. That this
Yeah.
this is the bar for all of the former prostitute Christian women. When you take everything that you have left, I'm not going to begrudge you a reasonable income, like something lower middle class to live on, a trust fund, that kind of thing. Maybe to give you an incentive to actually earn more money some other way. I'm not going to begrudge you that, but everything else, take it and put it into a men's charity or a children's charity. Okay, not another charity that basically is exploiting women's victimhood for bucks. A real charity. Right? Do that, and then I'll believe that you are repenting of what you've done. Or you are repenting of your lifestyle. Okay, until that's the condition. Hey, spread it around. That'll be the condition. Give your money back to people who need it.
All right, let's listen to some more.
And luxury purchases, it just comes off in a very recruiting way in my eyes. And when you hear how much these OnlyFans creators make, it's very easy to fall into the fantasy of it all. The fantasy of making thousands a month.
All right, how much did you make last month? 6 million. All right, next person. That was underwhelming. I don't even. Aisha, how much did you make last month?
Like around 2.5 mil.
Do you feel poor yet? Because I do. How much did you make last month?
So who is she talking to when she says that? Who is she talking to? Is it the men?
1 million. Okay, how much did you make last month? I just made 100K last month. Yes!
Oh, there you are. What happened?
I
Cat?
don't know. No, it wasn't
Okay.
a cat. You dropped, or from my perspective, sorry, you dropped.
Oh, okay.
And from your
Well,
perspective, I guess I just had an interruption in my internet or something. Maybe.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
let's keep.
perhaps. Okay. So I'm going to go back a little bit so you can see this. So she basically says that the average content creator makes about $150.
But realistically, the average OnlyFans user makes about $150 to $180 per month.
And what I was going to say is that I would guess that because there isn't a lot of work that goes into making content for OnlyFans, they're probably just doing that. Like, I wouldn't even, it's either a side gig or even like less than that. It's just like randomly deciding once in a while to put something up. I don't know how it works. Don't care. But even then, it's an extra $150 a month, like on top of whatever else, right?
Okay, so I'm having some serious lag with my video. I think it's the, like, we're dealing with a really bad cold snap here. So it might be
affecting your tubes.
Yeah, I know that sounds, yeah, it might be affecting. Well, what happens is that the lines gather a lot of hoarfrost and they break. So that might be that might be part of the problem today. So essentially it's so cold that water just freezes from the air. Actually, it's so
snowing.
cold,
It's snowing here, but it's not too bad. Like,
yeah, this
cold-wise.
is there. When it's cold enough, it doesn't snow. It can't snow. So it's like we're at, well, last night we went down to negative 56 Fahrenheit. So today we're
Yikes.
probably at like negative 30 Fahrenheit. No, but maybe like negative 20. But yeah, this is it's pretty cold here. It's the kind of cold where you don't want to walk outside and be outside for too long, because if anything happens, and sometimes things do happen, you might freeze to death. So, if I disappear, guys, you'll know why.
Okay.
I'll
Maybe we should try to get through the rest of this before
be dead in like a
gets
snowdrift somewhere. It's actually getting better. Tomorrow it's going to be going more towards seasonal. It's like 4 times colder than or actually, let's see. Usually seasonal is like -8 Celsius. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit, and now it's been getting down to -40. So it's about 5 times colder than normal.
Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad because we're used to really, really, really cold weather. So it's not like our cities are exploding like what happens sometimes in some states that aren't. But it's not a fun time. The dog is not enjoying himself at all.
No,
And plus
that doesn't sound good.
he tore his dew claw yesterday or a couple days ago. So he's not having a fun time. It's
All right.
a bad time for Scipio. The cat's fine though. She's just sitting on the couch. But yeah, I would guess that the extreme cold is probably why my internet's a little bit hinky.
Well, we'll just try to get through it. So
Yeah.
All right.
How many more time codes are
Which
there?
equates to just 2,000.
There's like, let me see. There's like 2. I think we can like finish this off. We're almost at the end of the video too, so.
$1 per year. You could make more starting an Etsy store or just your average everyday job working at McDonald's, for example. So the reality is this lavish lifestyle is for a very small percentage of people. Many people don't realize how challenging it actually is to make money on OnlyFans. And aspiring to become an OnlyFans model is not as straightforward as it seems. The market is very much oversaturated with tons of people joining, including celebrities. So to have success, it requires a lot of strong skills in marketing, business, and social media to stand out. What makes this situation harmful to society, beyond the impact of these young women, is that it's taking people away from vital jobs that are often difficult. It's alarming that teachers, doctors, etc. can make more money on OnlyFans than in their profession. That's why they're leaving. And these jobs
Yeah,
are
that's
being
probably
properly
why women became wives in the first place.
Hmm.
Because the risk to reward ratio is much higher. And maybe this is like a cycle. All the women become whores, let's be honest. And then it's like they realize that system just rewards some women a whole hell of a lot, and then most women not much at all. And then they're like, wait, what are we doing? Sisterhood. What is that, like Captain Planet come together? Sisterhood.
By your powers combined,
Yeah, like no,
we are
like,
the sisterhood.
what is the
What?
word? Come together, like
Like a Sentai, like Voltron. Like, what are you talking about?
why am I losing?
Gestalt.
No, not gestalt. It's like come together. It's like a word that means come. Sisterhood assemble. Sisterhood assemble.
Yeah,
I call upon monogamy so that every woman at least gets something from the system, right? Because this is like big winners, big losers. And it's interesting how she's focusing on a big winner instead of a loser. Like, why didn't she go and interview a woman who's making like $50 a month for showing a low-cut blouse and how she feels about this situation, right? Why didn't she go to interview somebody like that instead, or go look at someone like that, or the words of someone like that? Nobody cares. And that probably would do more to sell young girls away from OnlyFans than towards it, is to talk about the failures, the women who aren't making a lot of money and how they feel about it. Like, how do you feel about it when you put your ass up on OnlyFans and you get like nobody liking and subscribing and giving you money? Like, how does that feel? And that would probably push, maybe make girls think twice. Not selling the success and constantly saying, oh, not only is she so successful, but she's sort of a victim of the system too. So she's got that kind of cliche of being a victim, because you know that when girls write their stories, their Mary Sue stories, the Mary Sue is often a victim of something, right? Because it's victim glamour, right? So not only are these OnlyFans models they're getting so much attention, so much money, and they're so adored, they have this woman selling them on the victimhood glamour as well. So, I mean, it's like everything that these ladies are doing is selling this lifestyle. Even this woman saying, oh, but they're actually victims of the system, because that itself is selling it. Because it creates this kind of cachet, this kind of mystique around these creators that, they're secretly crying into their pillow. They secretly have this deep emotional drama involved in all of this. Like, could you sell this anymore, lady? Like, are you an OnlyFans ad?
All right, let's keep going.
compensated is a huge issue. The fact that some OnlyFans models are making more than teachers, vets, nurses, doctors, athletes, etc. is insane, and it's really sad. And if the world continues—
Well, wait a minute. Here's something that I think she doesn't say this, but let's think about that for a second. So OnlyFans models potentially, according to Hey It's Talia, this YouTube channel, could make more money than teachers, doctors, and other veterinarians, like other jobs that contribute to society. So then the question becomes, Talia, why are women putting how much money they could make over doing something that is good for our civilization? Because like OnlyFans models don't add anything. We used to believe back in the day that actors were on par with prostitutes in terms of their status because they provided a distraction, some form of entertainment, but they weren't really like building something. Like they weren't like a fundamental, part of our society that was really important. So we used to think of them in this, what they were like lower status before the concept of celebrity came along. And celebrity status was like the highest form of social status, right? For like years. I think recently it's fallen out of favor because people have realized that celebrities, most of them are idiots. And so that status has been diminished to some degree. But women still very much want to be famous, right? Or at least these OnlyFans girls. So they are actually, like, when she says it's a shame that OnlyFans models make more money than vets and doctors and teachers and so on, but like maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the right question should be, why are women doing a job that provides no value even though it makes more money? Why wouldn't they choose to do something important and noble, right, as a duty to your society? Like, I mean, maybe even being a doctor is like, it's a bit excessive, but a teacher or whatever it is, because it's too humble. So then, like, why would they do that? They want to be famous. Like, there was like, they did a thing where they asked boys and girls what they want to do when they grow up. I remember this came out, and boys would list off a bunch of things that they wanted to do in service. Like, oh, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a cop. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be, like all of these like service oriented things that boys wanted to do. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Most of the time it was like they wanted to be like a, an astronaut or a fireman or something. But when women were asked what they wanted, they would say they want to be famous. That's not even a job, but that's what they would say. I mean, girls would say that, right? Or it was something like a princess, like something a bit like, it's not really a job. It's just like I don't know, like a position. So I wonder what I'm getting from this is, just to like wrap it up, is that she is saying that it is a shame that women are not pursuing something that is actually good for society, and they're choosing OnlyFans. And the shame is not that women are choosing it. The shame is that OnlyFans offers more money than those other jobs. See what I'm saying, Allison?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's again this idea that if women are attracted to something that you consider less optimal, it's not the woman's fault. It's the fact that thing is attractive.
Yeah.
And again, like I was thinking about that, all of those professions have an element of service to the people that they're providing service for, like, doctors, lawyers to a degree, etc. But I'm guessing,
like there are boys that were like, I want to be president, like that. They want to serve. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Like, here's another thing that probably makes OnlyFans more attractive than these professions where it's about the people you're serving, not who you are. Like, it's not about you. OnlyFans isn't about the men, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it may appeal to the men, but OnlyFans creators often absolutely despise men. Like, could you imagine having a doctor that absolutely despises sick people? And that's the situation. So even OnlyFans has the attraction that you don't have to actually care about the well-being of the people you're supposedly serving, because by definition, they're harming you, you're not harming them. And that's the OnlyFans arrangement, is that the men are, even though they're providing in some cases huge amounts of money for the privilege of feeling like you are their companion for however long, you are the one who is victimized by them. So you don't actually have to consider their circumstances, their well-being. You don't even have to consider them human. And if you go into so what I'm getting at is you aren't even held to a standard in relation to your audience, in relation to the people who are giving you all this adoration and money. You can regard them as scum, and you can not care about their well-being in the slightest. Whereas in these other vocations, you actually do have to care. If you're a doctor, you have to care about your patients to a degree. You know, you're not going to be lauded if you don't. If you as a doctor, like if you as an OnlyFans creator go up and say, men, ugh, I hate men. I hate them. I hate the way they smell. I hate the way they look. I hate talking to them. I outsource that to other men. Oh, they're repulsive men. Nobody's going to be like, oh my God, Jesus, you're a horrible human being. But imagine a doctor doing that. I hate patients. Oh, repulsive. Oh, sicknesses. And I mean, they would be fired. So OnlyFans creators not only get oodles and oodles more attention and money, they aren't judged by how they treat their audience. They can treat them with absolute repulsive contempt, and it's considered acceptable. They don't. So there's absolutely no external control over that at all. There's no OnlyFans creators ever going to be charged with any kind of malfeasance as a result of their behavior towards their audience. So they don't have, they're completely free in that regard. Almost completely free of all constraints of being judged outside. And they get to feel like they're, if they want, a victim of their audience, of the people they're taking money from. There's no other profession that allows that level of complete, like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be judged in any way by the people that you're taking money from. There's no other. You're completely autonomous. You're morally autonomous. Like, morally autonomous in a way that your audience is more judged by their treatment of you than your treatment of them. Right? Okay. Your power is not really seen as something that you need to take responsibility for. Okay. And in any other profession, if you are put in a position of that kind of authority or power, you are expected to take responsibility for it. And we have women who are now generations upon generations upon generations into a narrative that anytime they are expected to take responsibility, it is in fact an injustice done against them. And why would they want to be responsible for a society that oppresses them? Okay, I'm done, Brian.
All right, let's play some more. We're getting close to the end here.
Continues this way, underpaying normal professions, jobs we need humans to be taking part in, this will continue to spiral. This work is often picked up by those who are struggling, that cannot afford to pay for food, clothing, a home. It shouldn't be the first resort for freshly 18-year-olds.
The night you turned 18, you registered to vote?
That's not what I touched.
Oh, you thought I was going to say join the military.
No, I'm gonna say is when I joined OnlyFans.
You joined OnlyFans the night you turned 18?
I think
That's
so,
because
yeah.
she has no sense of obligation to anybody.
Yeah, why would she register for the draft? I think that's a celebrity too. Like, she was like on Dr. Phil or something, I think. Well, kind of a minor celebrity, I guess. So yeah.
Subscribed right away.
Oh, a troubled child without a father, by the way. Just saying. Hence the neck tattoos.
Yeah.
Should they be in jail?
Yeah.
And the ratchet ass, like, fucking piercings and hair.
This line of work used to be looked down upon, not empowering. It's a concerning trend going on right now, so I just wanted to talk about it. I didn't
Yeah, but you're not allowed to look down on anything women do. You see? That's what I'm saying. Like, why can't you see that? Like, this used to be looked down on. Yeah, you can't do that now. No, everything women do, no matter how old they are, is completely permitted, and we're not allowed to have negative opinions, especially men. You guys told men to shut up a long time ago. So everything that happens now that has been permitted is on y'all. It's on y'all, and y'all perpetuated it.
So Tracy Williams is upset that I'm actually holding women to account. She says, "This is ridiculously wrong. Free market dynamics will force the OnlyFans model to cater at every whim or be replaced by the competition." Yes, eventually, but you could say that about everybody. You could say that about celebrities. So if a celebrity engages in some kind of sexual abuse of someone who's not a celebrity, is that acceptable because free market dynamics will eventually get rid of that behavior? Like, seriously, do you think that the men who are, for example, making one of these women $43 million a year, all of those men, do you think if she is abusive towards one of them, the rest of them are going to be just, well, that's it, we're done? No. And if you think that, then all of this rhetoric around men in power being able to, men in power, like who are ultimately subject to voters, ultimately subject to audiences, then you don't think that that's possible. That kind of sexual abuse is possible as a result of that power differential either.
Mm-hmm.
And also, OnlyFans creators have expressed really negative attitudes towards men, and they still break in the dough. Why? Because for the most part, the audience it's a seller's market, right? I know there's a lot of women who don't make money, but they may also not making money because they don't have a dedication to what it takes, or they just don't have the necessary skills, which isn't going to change, right? Like, if this one woman has whatever it takes to make 43 million, there's not going to be that many other women who have whatever it takes to make 43 million. So she's not going to be replaced that easily. So, like, this is something, it just doesn't cut it. Just saying, oh, men to blame doesn't cut it. And not looking at the situation and always seeing women as a victim of stuff doesn't cut it. At least not for me. Go to a place where it does. You don't have to stick around here. Let the audience decide. You're an audience member. Okay. All right, Brian.
Yeah. Also, she said something about there are two OnlyFans models who do kiss or slat prank on Miami Boulevard. One was a former engineer. The other chose not to go to college. They are not necessarily stupid. I don't think we ever accuse them of being stupid, but I do think it's unwise because you don't know what the downstream effects are going to be in your life later on. So, all right. But anyway, yeah, unwise is not the same as dumb.
Dive into the moral shortcomings of men, just because of course that comes into play here. We know this. We've been shaming men for this behavior for years. I've received comments on my previous videos on Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue saying, what about the men here? What about all the men lining up to do these acts? And I get it. If these men were out here filling these girls' pockets, this industry wouldn't survive.
Sophia Rain just revealed who her top spender was, and he spent almost $5 million.
This guy who spent $5 million on Sophie Rain is going for simp of the decade. I guess he's gonna get a trophy. But yeah, of course the women that this woman that watch this woman's content are like, why aren't you talking about the men? It's a planet of like 4 billion men or something like that. At least, yeah. About 3.5 billion men. Some of them, 1,000 is like a tiny percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you gonna like? What? And she, well, if they didn't want it, it wouldn't exist as a market, dude. Prostitution is the oldest. It's the oldest profession. It's always gonna exist, and there's always gonna be some men that are gonna pay for it. But if those men had like wives or girlfriends, guess what? They probably wouldn't be looking to be like number 779 in the Bonnie Blue like sex marathon. But even then, there'd be some men there. Like, why are we, again, this is coming down to, let's blame the men, because the women who aren't even doing this feel uncomfortable that a woman is being criticized somewhere.
Okay. All right. Yes, there are 4 billion men on this planet. And if a woman says, hey, want to take part in a gangbang, she's going to find 100 men.
Yeah.
By definition. Right? If a man said, you want to take part in a gangbang where I have sex with 100 women and you'll get like some crack at the end of it, he'll probably find another 100 women to take that offer as well. Right? They probably, I couldn't only imagine how horrifically awful the women that he'd find would be, but he'd find them, right? You have to understand the law of averages here. The women who open these possibilities up are going to find men who fulfill them. It is not the fault of all men that marginal men exist. Okay? That is not the fault of all men. I mean, the thing is that people get stuck up on this, and you cannot make it so. You cannot make a situation where a girl can say, or a young woman can say, I'm going to have a gangbang, 100 men, please come. And not, there's probably no world outside of heaven where you're going to get met. This woman is not going to find men, right? So the fact that these men facilitate this happening does not lessen her culpability. Or sorry, the fact that there exist enough men who will say yes when she does a call out doesn't reduce her culpability. The only person who's making this, the primary driver of this, is the woman engaging in it. And if this was reversed, we would never even be having this argument. No, we wouldn't.
Yep.
Andrew Tate does a call out. I'm going to do 100 woman gangbang. How are the women to blame? Are you freaking
Oh
kidding?
yeah, that would drive people crazy if she did that.
No, you would never do that. And you would never, in the instant a man who's complete unknown, complete blank to everyone did something like that, I'm going to do 100 woman gangbang. And he managed to pull in 100 women into it. There is absolutely no way that we would have internet keyboard warriors saying, but how are the women to blame for this? They are equally to blame, if not more. No, we would be having things like, oh, did he use the lover boy method? How did he convince them? We wouldn't even be saying, hey, this is primarily his responsibility. We'd be looking at ways that he was exploitative, actively exploitative towards these women and did something criminal, or at least deeply immoral towards the women, not towards society or some nebulous standard of morality. We would be looking at, how is this man exploiting these women? How did he construct this situation? What's wrong with society that this was allowed, that these women were allowed to be exploited in this manner? And don't give me any bullshit that this isn't true, that this isn't actually what you would do. The very people who are saying, well, how are the men to blame for Lily Phillips, would never, ever blame the women in a 100 woman gangbang scenario. Ever. All right, let's keep going.
This is the last one. So, and by the way, this is what Andrew Tate would look like after the 100 million women marathon. Sorry. Okay. Let's play the rest of this now.
His name is Charlie. He spent $84 in subscriptions, over $250,000 in messages, and $4.4 million in tips. Charlie, whoever you are, bro, please answer me this question. What could you have possibly gained from almost spending $5 million? After he seen the post that she made, this is what he decided to do.
That's him sending like $200 tips, a constant stream of that.
Draining your entire life savings, your entire 401k. For what?
It's sad to see. Sad to see.
Naked girls online.
Is it though?
They're
Well, I mean, yeah,
is anybody putting together a GoFundMe to get this guy a therapist, or you know what? Maybe send him to the freaking mythopoetic men movement and get him to beat some drums, like heal his, or like maybe get Robert Bly to do an exorcism for the simp inside him. Like, I don't know. Like, is there anybody who actually genuinely cares about this man?
Yeah, I don't know, man. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that he thinks that he's investing in something, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's in the minds of men like that.
giving you a sense of abundance of women that you don't have in your life and that you think you have by illusion. What this is doing is forcing you, to some extent, to feel like you have the possibility of meeting all these women online, which you're never gonna meet because they have 1 million followers and they don't even know you exist.
And
Even
we
if you're
can't.
talking to them on
And we
OnlyFans,
can't talk about the power differential there. You have to talk about how somehow the market forces are going to force the final boss of OnlyFans to give a shit about subscriber number 100,672. No, there is a power differential here. A huge
the 100 million subscribers that are sending this woman money, they're actually harming her.
Yes.
By doing that.
Except in the same circumstance, if you saw a man with who was like an author with a million followers, or a million reader, or 100 million readers, or whatever, a million readers, or a director, or a man who controls parts in Hollywood, and he had that kind of level of influence and power, you would 100% see that man as having more power than the women he's involved in. And then if he sexualized that, you would see it as exploitation. Like, but we don't, because it's women, right? But here's the other thing. This guy's like, oh, these women are giving you a sense of abundance. You'll have, okay. But okay, first of all, if the guy is in a marriage and has a relationship with an OnlyFans because he wants a sense of abundance, but he's not actually cheating, is it that bad? Like, honestly, it's just a form of entertainment. And if you're going to say that it's fine on her end, why is it not fine on his? Okay. Yeah. But the other thing is that, are these men even in relationships? Like many of them. I know that people have said that there's a lot of OnlyFans
users that are married.
I don't know. I sort of doubt that, but the other thing is that, do they mean just the users for the pornography? Because apparently OnlyFans has a whole bunch of stuff. So, like maybe the guys who are like looking at engine repair are being lumped in with the OnlyFans thoughts fans, But regardless, I haven't looked at that study. I'd have to look at it to find out.
Fair enough.
I mean, if these single men are looking to find abundance, so what? Who's it harming? Right? Like, really? Okay, let's keep going.
All right, I'll play the rest of this, and that'll be the end.
you actually think you're talking on OnlyFans. You're actually talking to a team, so stop. You're wasting money. Invest that money in something more important. And at the same time, it's preventing you from finding the love of your life. What you should do instead is focus on area of life that you want to focus on. So if you want to focus on work, focus on work. If you want to focus on getting a girl, get a girl. But work towards it. OnlyFans is up your whole life.
Men as consumers in the OnlyFans industry can have a negative impact on women in several ways. Many male subscribers objectify female creators, viewing them solely as sources of entertainment or sexual gratification.
Okay, wait a second. On OnlyFans, no, I'm calling bullshit on this. You're just making a stretch. The appeal of OnlyFans is the parasocial relationship. Don't like if anything, OnlyFans is a movement towards seeing the girl as an actual person that you interact with, as opposed to a set of sexual fetishes that you find on Pornhub, which I mean, I don't have a problem with. Like, what I mean, I do. I don't know. I'm probably pretty laissez-faire about this stuff because I'm not necessarily approaching it from a really religious point of view. But you know, like, there's a big categorical difference there. OnlyFans is about the girl. It's about that parasocial relationship with an individual you recognize as a person. That's why you would go to OnlyFans rather than Pornhub. So don't give me this shit.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not objectifying either way, even if you're on Pornhub. I think that we people use that word and they don't even know what it means. Like they're literally subjectifying, if anything. They're seeing them as a subject, a person with a personality. It's not just like a torso, unless those women are doing that to themselves, which a lot of them are. So, you know, they put on costumes and whatever, right? So
is their value to their content. This mindset can lead to a lack of respect for the women behind the profiles, making it difficult for creators to be seen as whole individuals beyond their work. Additionally, women can feel pressures from men to create content that they
what?
What are you even talking? Yeah, additionally, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, this is basically the end. She basically says that women can feel pressure from their audience to make more content. Because the men are just like the thrall that comes from the million simps that are like giving them like $50 a month.
$50 a month to send them a
whatever
high.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What the hell are you even talking about? Well, if you actually believe this, then go interview the women in the gray handmaids robes. You see what I'm saying when I say that is go interview the women who didn't make it. Right? And ask them about the pressure that they have. Okay? And the other thing is, if you don't like it, go get a real job. But here's the thing. Continuously framing women as victims is why we're in this mess in the first place. The only way you're going to get these women to stop is to hold them to a standard of accountability. Because honestly, if you continuously frame women as victims of everything, then they might as well have a $43 million paycheck at the end of the day. Like, I went through the whole thing. Women are victims of getting married. They're victims of being the maid, the sex therapist, or the prostitute, and all of the other shit that feminists say about being in a relationship with a man. So how are you going to use being in a relationship with a man and the potential harms to that to argue that OnlyFans is worse? You can't. You have absolutely no leverage. In every single, it's exploitation all the way down, lady. That's the way feminists have framed every interaction between women in society. So if it's exploitation all the way down, every way the women turn, every possible avenue, and even in becoming a doctor, because, you know, it's a male-controlled industry. And if it's a female-controlled industry, it's a ghetto, so it's exploitative. Every single possible choice a woman can make, according to feminists, exploits her. So why not make 43 million at the end of the day? You want to actually frame something as less exploitative? Stop framing everything as exploitative, right? And if you really want women not to do this kind of crap, explain to them that they have a responsibility as citizens of society to take jobs that help others versus exploiting people's loneliness. That's where you stop it. Because get this, women actually do respond to a narrative of responsibility. That's what actually made the number of women in STEM fields peak in the mid-'80s. Because in the 50s, there was this whole narrative about how you had to go into science. Science was about professionals serving their country as a result of the Cold War and the competition between the Soviets and the Americans. They had a whole bunch of ads that presented women in a professional context doing science in service of their country. And women responded to that. At least those women from those generations got into those fields and learning them in the 50s and 60s to peak in the mid-'80s. You know, women do respond to this, but you actually have to present it, right? You actually have to challenge the narrative of women being victims of men, women being victims of society, and present the idea that women do have a responsibility to others. And we don't do that. We have constructed a generation of women who are some of the most sheltered and like look at all of the logical errors in this video that come purely as a result of women being incapable of recognizing that what they're doing has effects in the greater world. We did this collectively. And I mean, this is not something that men can solve by holding women to account for their behavior, which is very difficult in the simp economy, I'll admit. And women need to rise up and realize that this is not just bad for our civilization, bad for men. It is terrible for their own mental health. So you imagine living in a field of rakes and you keep stepping on the rake head and hitting your face, and you just can't make the connection between you stepping on the rake head and hitting your face? How absolutely miserable and depressing it would be, because you can never do anything to change the pain of your life. That's where women are at. It doesn't do them any favors. It does men no favors. It does society no favors. We're just fucking ourselves for no particular reason. And I'm sure the aliens are watching us and shaking their heads or laughing their heads off. Maybe we're like the Truman Show. We're just some gigantic panorama box we're basically a comedy for some galactic civilization. What are the bipedal apes doing today? Oh, Jesus Christ. Not blaming OnlyFans thoughts for creating their own freaking OnlyFans pages. Okay. All right.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
I mean,
Well,
yeah, there's nothing else. So that's it.
yeah, this is it. Like, once again, we've blamed men and refused to recognize women's responsibility in the outcomes of their own lives. And then again, we've also refused to recognize feminism's culpability in constructing this entire gigantic bullshit narrative. Like, if you say everything is exploitation, feminists, then why wouldn't women choose the $43 million in exchange for being exploited? But you gotta start refining your narrative, right? I know maybe we can't make a step towards recognizing women's responsibility to men, children, and society, but maybe you could start deciding there are points at which women aren't exploited by everything around them, that women don't exist in a continuous state of exploitation. Maybe you could just, so that you actually have leverage for the OnlyFans girls. Like, you're being exploited in OnlyFans. Yeah, but I'm being exploited everywhere else too, according to you. So why not? Right? Okay. All right. So I feel like we've put in our shift, eh?
Yeah. Oh, I did get a super chat, but for some reason it didn't show up on my thing. I'll read it really quick. It was a while ago. So I'm sorry, Zeranx. I didn't see it until now. He gave us $5 and said it harms them because of the idea that they're wearing away their morality by actively engaging in the action that they wouldn't if the promise of taking in large sums of cash wasn't possible. This is similar to the rejection of women with high body counts or the you can't turn a 304 into a housewife idea. The mind is programmed by the willful repeated action, and you have a fundamental change as a result. The fact that women are so much more impressionable drives the idea that women engaging in these actions are harming themselves. Forgive me if this came out rambly. I'm at work. Yeah. Thank you for that, Zeranx. Sorry for not seeing it until just now. Okay.
I'm going to say something really controversial. I think that women are fully capable of taking responsibility for their lives. I don't think we need to deflect blame onto men. I think even that 17-year-old girl is responsible. I'm actually a little bit disturbed that she thinks that men should go to jail for doing what she's wanting them to do, right? I think she can be held responsible. I think the woman in this video can be held responsible. I think all of these women can be held responsible. They will not implode and their ovaries won't fall out of their bodies, right? And it probably at the end of the day, if they are, men will have much better women to choose from. I honestly, I have my doubts. I know that I'm bringing up Christianity. I have my doubts that it's really Christian to absolve women of their sins and say it's all a result of men's lack of leadership. Right? I think that there's still an element in Christianity that yes, men are supposed to be the moral leaders, but women still have to make the choice to follow. And if they don't make that choice, it is on them. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So that now for sure. If you want to do the things and we'll close it out, or do you want?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this has been. I feel exploited. That means I've done work.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Okay, so if you'd like to send us a message because you enjoyed want to argue with, are complaining about, want to just baffle and bamboozle us, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way to send us a tip. And if you would like to send us a message with that tip. And if you want to support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. Just want to throw us some dosh for doing this great content and beating the drum of women's responsibility, which is something that I think is unique to us. I don't see a lot of people talking about it in the way that we do. I actually don't see a lot of people talking about women's responsibility at all. There is the compulsion or the tendency to just go back to the idea that men are responsible for everything. So, for example, it's women's behavior is a response of men sheltering them, which is true, but ultimately women need to make this choice because men can control their simping up to a point, and after that point, women need to be responsible for saying no. Okay, don't do that. I need to have recognition of my own actions. You can't just be putting a pillow in my path for the rest of my life. That's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for you. At some point, women have to say no to the simping. All right. So if you enjoy that message, feedthebadger.com/support. And if you would like to join us in our Discord, badgernation.online. I probably should do a redirect with Feed the Badger for that. All right. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. You'll find a link to the video in the description if you want to watch it yourself. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you guys in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.